There's something inside of a man that we will run towards enemy gunfire for the cry of a woman, let alone our woman or our daughter. And then there's something about a man that is willing to let his son struggle and suffer, and you'll set higher standards. Every man knows instinctively my son, to survive his life's journey, needs to be harder than my daughter. That's just how it is.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the From Boys to Men show, brought to you by the Squire Program. I'm your host, Lheyton Cook. Today I have the founder of the Squire Program here with us today. Another banger of an episode. What's going on, B?
What's up, Lheyton? How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good. So
Good.
First and foremost, man, I want to give a shout out to everybody who's not only watching this today, but on the freaking Instagram, dude. Like, I've been waiting to tell you this and update you since I kind of noticed, but 97 million views on that video of the ice bath.
Wow.
Freaking crazy. Abraham and Jacob was insane.
Abraham and Jacob. And that was from the last Squire class when Abraham and Jacob were in the ice bath, and Abraham was talking his son Jacob through staying in the ice bath for the undisclosed amount of time, because we can't share how long we keep these fathers and sons in the ice bath. But what a meaningful, touching moment that was.
Yeah.
97 million
97
views.
million, dude. It's the highest video we've ever, posted, and 135,000 followers from that.
Gained from that.
Yeah.
That tells me one thing, that the world is hungry to see fathers stepping into their role as leaders, not only of their sons, but their daughters, their families, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's a massive absence of real fathering. And when someone sees that taking place, albeit in the ice bath, where dad is doing what dad does, like, because he's freezing cold too. It's 36-degree water. And
Right.
he's like, I'm not going to think about me right now. I'm going to think about my son. Right. And that was a very meaningful moment, man. That was great video.
On that note, I think there's a lot of kind of the topic of today. What I wanted to start with was where there's kind of this inner conflict where, you want to spend time with your son and do things like that, go to events like this, and spend time with your family. But then we also talk about how men need to get their, finances together and build something and go out and conquer the world. And so there's kind of this inner conflict of like, how do you do both? Like, and you're the best person to talk to when it comes to that, because you obviously have an awesome family. Your kids came out great. Like, people, I know you're proud of them, but people are just like, astounded of how they carry themselves. But then also you built this giant empire, multiple businesses and everything. And so you've created this awesome life. So, kind of how do you balance if a man wants to be a good father and be there and be present, but then he's like, well, how can I be present if I need to build something? Like, do you think that he needs to be there all the time?
No, I don't think that you need to be there all the time, but I think you need to be present when you're there all the time. Does that make sense? And a great example I can give you is many, many years ago, before I was able to see, we always think we're like, oh, I'm too busy. I can't be everywhere. So I can't, if I focus on my health and fitness, I can't focus on my business. If I focus on my health and fitness, I can't focus on my family. If I focus on my family, I can't build a big business. You think you have to trade one for the other, not realizing that there's actually a lot of time on our schedule that we just let kind of slide by scrolling on social media, looking at sports scores, watching television all night. There's so many things you could be doing better. But that aside, before I became that guy that actually batch processes my schedule, and I have a tight schedule that I live by, and I've got my family, and I've got my fitness and health, and I've got my money and my businesses all dialed in. And I still have plenty of time in my schedule. Because we always overestimate how busy we are, and we underestimate how much productivity we can stack up if we just batch process things. Right. But when I was like that 1.0 version of myself, I remember having a conversation with Chloe. So she's 16 now, but at the time, my daughter Chloe was maybe 8 or 9 years old. And I was having a conversation with her, and I was on my phone, like kind of replying to a text message or maybe scrolling through something of a client or a fit body owner as Chloe is in front of me talking to me. And I'm kind of lending her an ear. I'm kind of listening, but I'm also in my phone. She stopped talking, and I looked up, and as I looked up, she grabbed my face and just pointed it towards hers, and she goes, "Dad, can you like pay attention to me?" And I realized, like, in that moment, I don't have to multitask my daughter and my phone. I could just find a way to be present when I'm with my son and daughter. Yeah. And when I realized that I don't need to be spending hours with them, but the hour or two that I do spend with them each night needs to be meaningful. So even till this day, Andrew's 18. We see each other in the morning. I fist bump him and Chloe, give them a hug, give them some love, and they send them on their way to school. Andrew drives both of them to school, to high school. And then our day starts. Chloe has volleyball practice. They both have a boyfriend and a girlfriend, and they both have cars they drive, and Andrew has a job. And yet at night we see each other. Andrew and I get our workout in. Chloe and I will get our monthly date nights. We'll see each other for dinner. And when we're with each other, it's meaningful time. Whether we're on the mats rolling in the gym, or we're in the gym working out, or, is now the weather starting to get warmer pretty soon. Andrew and I will go surfing, one-wheeling, whatever. The time that we spent is meaningful, and I'm not checking my phone and emails to see what's happening. Also, when I'm here working, I'm not feeling guilty and feeling like I'm missing out on my kids and my family, because when I was with them, I was present.
Exactly.
And now when I'm at work, I'm fully present. And then when I'm in the gym in the mornings, I'm fully present there for my workout. And so it's about being present where you're at and structuring your schedule where you could truly accomplish. Because think about this. You have 3 8-hour days in a 24-hour period. So if you're going to get 8 hours of sleep, bro, you got 16 hours to spend time with your family, to launch a business, to make money, to spend time with your wife, to get your health and fitness dialed in. It's a lot of time. It's just, hey, you might be spending 2 hours commuting here and there.
Yeah.
Well, I suggest you use it better. You might be spending some time, screen sucking. I suggest you use that better. You might be watching one episode after another, or watching sports for 2, 3, 4 hours on the weekend because you're like, well, I work so hard during the week. I want to decompress watching sports. There's better things you could be doing. So it's about prioritizing, time blocking, and then being present wherever you are.
Right. So what do you think about, because there's a clip that, most of Andrew Tate's clips he gets in trouble for them, just how he delivers his message. But there's one clip on this note where he talked about how he doesn't believe that fathers need to be there all the time anyways. He's like, that's the mother's job. The mother's job is there. Her role is, she's in the house especially when they're younger, the kids are younger, like they need to run to mom, and her role is for that time anyways. Dad needs to go out, conquer, build an empire, and do that thing. He doesn't need to be there the entire time like how people think that they should be. And then people are shaming these guys for not being, around all the time and in the house. Well, how can I be in the house and make money at the same time? So do you think that, it sounds like you're saying like you don't believe that men need to be, or fathers need to be in the house 24/7. It's just...
Nope. In fact, I'd say, I'll be even more specific. 0 to about 6 years old, the father's presence is what needs to be felt, right? And the fact that if you see your kid, your babies, most of the time they're going to mom. At that age, this. You got your kids are all under 6, and they're going to mom. They just need to feel your presence. They need you're going to love them up and hold them up, etc. But when dads think and moms say that, well, you got to spend equal amount of time with the kids, with the babies. No, I don't. Not during this time. They need mom the most. Just like there'll be a time where they need dad the most. And that time is going to come in the future, especially for your son,
right?
For Apollo, because he's going to be like, oh, shoot, me and dad have a lot more in common than me and mom do. And there's just this natural detachment from mom that happens around 11, 12, 13 years old. It just does. It naturally happens. A little testosterone starts building up in his body. He has more in common with dad. And I remember Diana telling me, like, dude, I see you guys play ping pong, and every match, whether you win or Andrew wins, you guys like shake hands and hug. She goes, I haven't had a hug from him forever, because when he was a puppy and I taught him when we played ping pong, we're going to shake hands and hug. Now, older, jiu-jitsu, shake hands and right, boom, boom, boom. And then whether he submits me or I submit him, we hug it out. Working out, hey, son, great workout, hug it out. And so now I'm in that season. But I remember there was a time where I'd come home and they were in that 4, 5, 6-year-old stage. I'm like, I thought my kids were supposed to come running over to me,
Right.
They do for a minute, and then they're busy going back playing with their shit. But if they get hurt or they're hungry, they go to mom. They just need mom during that time. That's why there's moms turn babies into boys. That's saying moms turn babies into boys, but dads turn boys into men.
Right.
And so the time will come. And so I say you use that time, the first 6 years, your presence needs to be felt. You need to be seen. You need to show love, but probably like a 80-20. 80% of the time, mom, 20% of the time, if that, maybe even 10% of the time, dad.
Right.
That's just how it is.
Yeah, I was trying to explain to Betsy one time, someone in our family, I don't know if this person's going to watch, so I'm not going to say who in our family, but have kids similar age as ours, and the husband, the dad, is out trying to build his business, and the wife is the one who's at home taking care of the kids, just like Betsy and me, our situation. And he was saying that his game plan is that he's not really going to be, he's going to miss some things these first about 10 years because he's building this business, right? Betsy she's like, that doesn't make any sense. 10 years, like she's already going to be in whatever grade that makes her in, whatever, like that's stupid, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And she didn't get it. And so like, it's true. First of all, like the kids are not really going to dad like that anyway. Yeah. So
I mean, the kid would be like in 3rd or 4th grade at that point.
Yeah.
And what did Andrew and Chloe need from me in 3rd and 4th grade? When they get an award, I would put it on my calendar and I'd go and, see them get the award, whether it's student of the month or,
right. Yeah.
They colored in the lines or whatever the fuck, math award, whatever, right?
Right.
That was it. If they had a little pee-wee game that they're playing on a weekend, that I'm there rooting for them and like, hey, great job. But on the day-to-day, they didn't need me. Mm-hmm. I needed to be building the empire for them.
Exactly.
Right?
It's a lot different. It's just a different role. It's a different role. But then you said, it's going to come to a point where it's going to switch, where Betsy's asking me like, oh, well, he doesn't do that with me anymore, and it's going to change. So for dads who are preparing to get to that stage, what do you think that they can do better kind of transitioning into that phase where right now the heat's not really on them? They're kind of like, okay, I can go work. They want to be with mom anyways, but it's going to change at a certain point. Like, what do you think that they can do better to kind of transition into the phase where they're going to be needed a lot more?
Yeah. Figure out all the different ways your son's going to need you. And so let me give you a hint. Physically, emotionally, mentally. He wants to be emotionally disciplined because as a young man, we are emotionally reckless as testosterone starts to come up and we're curious and we're mischievous as boys. Boys are inherently more mischievous. It's just how it is. Boys want to know like what's under there, what's behind that. Girls aren't as curious. And so like mentally teach them how to be more disciplined. Physically teach them how to be strong and athletic and mobile. And so think about how many sports and activities you can do with them, right? Like I said, from ping pong to working out in the gym to surfing to one wheel, like we go mountain biking together here in the hills of Chino Hills. Yes. And same with Chloe. Yeah. But especially with boys, like you want to teach them the physical attributes that a boy needs. And if we go back to Jack Donovan's book, Way of Men, strength, courage, honor, and mastery. I want them to master some skills. Like I remember I had a 64 Shelby Cobra when Andrew was a puppy. He couldn't say exhaust pipes. He would say exhaust pops.
Yeah.
Hey, Daddy, what are those? Those are exhaust pipes, son. Oh, exhaust pops. They're loud. Exhaust pops are loud. Yeah. Like, don't touch them, son, because they're hot. And I'd bring his hand close so he can feel the heat radiating off it. Oh, yeah, okay, they're hot, Dad. Yeah. When does it get hot? And I'd educate him, like, on how a car works. And the combustion of the engine makes the exhaust pops hot. And therefore, if you touch them, you're going to burn your skin. And the Shelby Cobra has the exhaust pipes right underneath the doors. So if you open your door and you don't take a big step out, you're going to burn your calf. And, he would go riding around in that with me, and he would push the buttons, and he grew up taking an interest in cars because I've got an interest in cars. He does. I've got an interest in fitness and combatives and working out, and he does. And I've got an interest in music. He does. And so the mental side, playing music, teaching him discipline, how to stand up and shake hands with another man, making eye contact, asking questions and not just being questioned. Yeah. Those are all things that a dad has a responsibility to do.
All right.
And you're going to learn those things from books like The Way of Men, from Raising a Modern Day Knight, and other great books out there who will guide you as a dad on how to raise your son. But for you to be able to do that, you're going to need to start stacking money and building the financial war chest so that you can make the time to be able to do that, number one, because you want to buy back your time, right, by having employees or whatever. If you have a business, or if you have a career, you can work the shifts or the times that you're more available for your children, because that time will come that dad has a bigger role, and you want to be there mentally, physically, and emotionally providing for them.
Right. What about this one instance? I want you to kind of talk about this because I think this was gold and something that my kids are still not old enough for me to do this yet. but I can't wait until we get to the age when I can, because I thought this was really interesting. It always stuck out to me where you said there was a time where, I think you said around 10, 11 or 12, where you should, basically where your kids are old enough to converse with you and actually have, be able to formulate thoughts and articulate themselves better, where you sat Andrew down, you said, hey, Andrew, and you said, bring 2 examples of where you've clearly messed up from parenting them throughout, their age, right, throughout their lifetime, and say, hey, I messed up with these 2 things. I know these are 2 times where I clearly made a mistake. What else? Have I messed up on, and just kind of have that conversation with him, like a healing conversation. Yeah. And he like let loose and told you all kinds of different things. Yeah. I think that's healthy for all parents to do that. Can you kind of like expound, like, have you done that with Chloe as well? Like, how did you come up with this?
I have. And truth be told, and Andrew was right, I had a double standard for Chloe. I had this different standard for Andrew. He's older. He's 2 years older. And being my first child, you don't have the experience to draw from.
Yeah.
Like, bro, now with Apollo, you've got 2 children that you've gained experience from. Like, Apollo has to raise holy hell for you guys to even like get up and see what's wrong with him.
Right.
But your daughters, on the other hand,
it's different.
It's different, right? It's just, especially as a dad, you see them as a little more fragile. As there's something inside of a man that we will run towards enemy gunfire for the cry of a woman, let alone our woman or our daughter. And then there's something about a man that is willing to let his son struggle and suffer, and you'll set higher standards just instinctively. It's just that way. You're like, every man knows instinctively, my son, to survive his life's journey, needs to be harder than my daughter. That's just how it is, like it or not. And I know the feminists are losing their shit right about now.
Exactly. What do you mean?
Yeah. And so with that in mind, with Andrew, I was more impatient. Again, remember, he was my first child. I was more impatient. I had even higher expectations of him. I was a more angry person. Those extra 2 years gave me more time to heal. By the time Chloe, reached the age of causing troubles, like 5, 6, 7 years old, like Andrew did. And so when I asked Andrew when he was 10, 11 years old, like, hey, son, I can think of these 2 times that, like one of the times was I smashed his iPad out of anger, bro, because he had created an Instagram account without getting permission from mom or me.
Yeah.
Like, that's lame. Like, I could have been disappointed. I could have said, you can't have this thing for a period of time. But I was so angry because I felt disrespected, and I was angry, and I basically took it out on him and the iPad. Like, I smashed it to the ground. Pieces went everywhere. He was looking at me like, oh my God, are you about to smash me next?
Scared. Yeah.
Right? Like, that is not how I want my son. It's embarrassing for me to even tell the story. That is not how I want my son to feel about me. And so when I was like, son, I remember this time, he was like, you know what? Yeah. And he just laid into me, and I deserved it. And in fact, my rebuttal was, this is how fucking dense I was as a father. And a lot of us men are this way towards our sons especially, and our daughters, I'd say. I try to, even though I was like, hey, son, I think I screwed up there, and I'm sorry for it. And if you want to get anything off your chest, let me know. And as he starts telling me, he goes, I don't think that was like a fair response to what I did, Dad. I was like, yeah, you're right. He goes, you smashed it. And I was scared. And like, now my iPad, it cost a few $100 and da-da-da. Right. And then you know what I said? Instead of keep apologizing, my ego woke up, and I was like, well, at least I didn't slap you around and beat you like my dad beat me. He goes, and then because I've taught him to have a voice, he goes, and so that's okay because you didn't do as bad as your dad did. Right. So therefore it's okay. I was like, shit, no, it's not. No, it's not. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have even said that. But same with Chloe. But with Chloe, truth be told, I was more gentle. I was more forgiving. And Andrew called me out on it. He goes, you have a double standard for how you treat Chloe and how you treat me. I was like, shit, you're right about that too. And so I had to have a conversation with myself. Like, where's this coming from? Where's this coming from? And my dad didn't play sports with me. My dad didn't do all these things with me. And I love my dad to pieces, but we escaped Soviet Union. He came here. He worked his nuts off. My dad had me. I was born when my dad was 44 years old.
That's crazy.
Right? Like Andrew was born when I was 29, your age. And so big difference.
Yeah.
My dad wasn't like physically as active.
Right.
And so, and we were broke. And also, so I think I had this like, I got to do everything with Andrew and blah, 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 blah. And I have these higher expectations of him. And my dad had nothing for me. And so I got to have, like, I put so much emotional weight on Andrew. Like, it was unreasonable. but I was trying to also make up for what I missed out on with my dad.
Right.
But you only realize that in hindsight. And when you do, you're like, hey, son, I think I screwed up. I owe you an apology.
Right.
If there's anything you want to get off your chest, let me have it. And he did.
Yeah.
And I deserved it.
Where did you get that from? Like, did you hear it from like maybe a therapist or like a show? Like, I know sometimes you draw inspiration from different things, like a radio show one time.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, kind of where did you get that from?
Yeah, Dr. Laura. So I always talk about Dr. Laura on her radio show.
So same, okay. Radio
so
show,
that same lady who stopped me from carjacking, you know, Dr. Laura show, Laura Schlesinger on KFI AM 640 radio out here in LA many years ago, 20 years ago. When I say she stopped me from carjacking and robberies because I would listen to her radio show and she would talk sense into me through her radio show. She later wrote books on the proper care and feeding of a man, the proper care and feeding of a woman. You know, so like husband would buy the book Proper Care and Feeding of a Woman, right?
Yeah.
Like it's like a tongue in cheek, like Proper Care and Feeding of a guinea pig.
Yeah,
but it's like, hey, here's how you would take care of physically, mentally, emotionally of your woman. And then, hey, if you're a woman, here's how you would take proper care and feeding of your man. And so I would start reading all her books because I'd become like the secret fan. And I was not in her demographic. Like I imagine her demographic were like, I don't know, fucking women in their 30s and 40s. And here I am like 19 years old. But I purchased her books in my 20s and I read them. And in it, she talked about, you know, asking for feedback from the people that you feel that you may have hurt unintentionally because hurt people hurt people.
Right.
And so as I was hurt,
Yeah.
kind of pass it along.
Yeah.
And so I learned that from one of Dr. Laura's books. I don't remember which one. She has like 11 or 12 books out there. But it was a great lesson, man. And I still use that today. Like if I've screwed up, I've done that with Joan. You know, like, hey, Joan, I know when this situation happened, I was mean to you and whatever when you tried to bring something up to me and you were just trying to look out for our business, but I was mean to you and I made you cry and I apologize. Like I was stressed out and I basically took it out on you because it's safe. Because you're my assistant, you're around, and I know you're not going to leave, and I took it out on you, and I'm a fucking asshole for that. And she like, you know, if there's anything you want to get out of your chest, here it is. And she was like, yeah, man, you were a fucking asshole. And I was like, cool, lesson learned.
Right.
But it's very humbling to have to kill your ego and to ask for feedback and for forgiveness.
Right.
But it's very healthy as well. And the older I get, the easier it gets too.
Of course. Yeah. Of course. You got more experience too, by the way.
You got more experience, and then you realize, like, hey, you know, if Lheyton lets me have it right now, that doesn't make me a bad guy. It just makes the old version of me.
You're human, you make mistakes.
Unrefined. I was unrefined, and now Lheyton telling me I can be a better human in the future.
Right. So switching gears just a little bit, like, what do you think that dads nowadays, modern day dads, can do better? Like when it comes to, it really can be anything when it comes to raising their kids, you know. Actually, let's keep the spouse talk off the table. Let's keep it on the kids and raising their sons or daughters. What do you see today that they're kind of messing up on? Like, is it technology? Is it, you know, too much freedom? Is it, you know, what do you think that they can do better?
I'm going to give you one answer that's going to cover all of that. And I just saw it yesterday. In a strange turn of events, I found myself at the UFC gym in Brea. I think we were talking about it the other day. Yesterday morning, I found myself at the UFC gym in Brea. There's a dude there that I roll with on their mats, one of the black belts. And before rolling with him, I was working out upstairs. So they have like the gym equipment upstairs and the mats and stuff.
Massive there, dude.
Huge. Yeah. It used to be a Tower Records and now it's whatever. So anyway, I'm working out. And I see a father and son come up the staircase. The son was probably in his mid-20s, 23, 24 years old. Not even kidding, Lheyton. He was easily 280, 290 pounds.
What's that?
Wearing a sweatshirt.
Yeah.
Actually a hoodie, a zip-up hoodie. Hands in his pocket. Loose basketball shorts. Grizzly beard, unkept. A tattoo on his calf and a tattoo on the opposite shin. And then right behind him is dad, about 310, 320 pounds, even more grizzly beard, wearing a blue hoodie, more tattoos on his legs, both massively fat and sloppy looking. I don't know how else to say it.
Right, yeah.
One was just 20 years ahead of the other, right? We see this at the Squire Program all the time.
I was about to say, yeah.
And there's that period of time during the Squire Program where we separate the boys and the dads. And while you're talking to the boys, teaching them lessons, I'm with the dads. And what do I share with those dads? Because I never want to say it in front of their sons. But I tell them, I'm like, hey, you look like a pumpkin. Your son looks like a pumpkin. You were huffing and puffing during the warm-up. Your son was huffing and puffing during the warm-up. Dude, you're jacked. Your son's jacked. We are walking, talking examples and role models. And a great example of this was this 23, 24-year-old young man yesterday that I saw, and his dad, who's probably in his like early 50s now. Yeah. And I wanted to stop my workout and just go up to them and say, can I help you guys? Like, can I tell you what I see? Let's walk to the mirror. Like, isn't it funny that you're just 20, 25 years from now, you're going to be him. Just gray your hair, more grizzly beard, but add another 40 pounds. That's it. You're him. They even waddled the same way with their hands in their pocket. I'm not trying to make fun. I'm literally trying to describe something here. Yeah. It broke my heart. And I just like, fuck it. I got to finish my workout and go down there and roll because I'm on a timeline. And like, who the fuck am I? Like, if they were like, hey, man, we recognize you. We listen to your show. I'd be like, fellas, have a seat. We got to talk. If you recognize me, you listen to my show, then you know what I'm about to say is going to come from a place of love, even though it's going to feel like I'm shitting on you. Yeah. And I've said that to people who have been like, man, I watch your show. You've changed my life. And I'm like, how long have you been watching my show? A year and a half. Bro, you're fucking fat. Like, so you like what I say, but you haven't been putting it to action. Like, what's it going to take? And I'll just, help them, right? Yeah. Do
you ever hesitate because you don't know how they're going to react? Like,
no, I think these days, like, I think I know how to show up. Like, they know that I give a shit. Yeah. And if some guy was ever to tell me like, well, fuck you, don't talk to me like that. I mean, great, fuck me, I'll walk away. You know what I mean? I'm not looking to start a problem. Yeah. But I show up with love and they know, and I say on my show all the time, I'm shitting on you because I love you. And I wish more people shat on me when I was younger doing stupid shit. Instead, they accepted me for how I am. We accept you for how you are. Don't accept me if I'm a shit bag. Right. Don't accept me if I'm out of shape. Don't accept me if I'm late to things. Don't accept me if I don't follow through. Like, because, late night I didn't sleep well, so I'm sorry, I'm going to miss the deadline. You should be like, bro, I don't care. If I didn't sleep well, I'd still hit the deadline. Right. So I expect you to hit the deadline. Like, sometimes we got to shit on each other out of love. So anyway, I say this because that father and son yesterday, like that dad will have either has diabetes or will have diabetes, will ultimately have some kind of gout and will be on medication, no doubt has hypertension and heart disease, and that son is going to follow through because he subconsciously sees, we always see our dad as an example, subconsciously. Right? Good or bad. And so the blanket answer is be a shining example in the categories of fitness, finances, and family. Mm-hmm. Be a shining example. Like, treat your wife like you want your son to treat his future wife. Yeah. Treat your health and your body like you want your son to treat his health and his body. This father and son yesterday they were coming to the gym, but I knew what they were going to do was not going to get them results. And if they stop by the juice bar, I've worked in gyms long enough to know that people will come to the gym, they don't have a plan. You can tell they were just haphazardly walking around doing whatever machine. And I don't know if they stop by the juice bar or not, but what usually happens, people will go to the gym, maybe they'll burn 100 calories, 110 calories doing random shit, no structured training program, and then they'll go by the juice bar, buy a 300 calorie smoothie.
Yeah, it's just like,
and walk out. Yeah, right. Walk out adding more calories to their body than they burnt.
Right.
But they don't even realize that.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so I share that with you because a dad has a responsibility in family, fitness, and finances, hell, and faith, like the 4 F-bombs of the project. Be a shining example. Like, there's no room to deviate because your son, your daughter is watching. And Chloe has a young man that she's interested in. The dude's an athlete. He's well-spoken. He opens the door for her. She's organically looking for someone like her dad because I've done all those things for her. I've maintained my fitness. I've taken her to the gym. I've explained how important our physicality is. I've explained how important it is for a man to be chivalrous to a lady. So she naturally is looking for those things. And if a dude who's a prospect for a boyfriend doesn't have those things, no matter how cute he is and what a cute dimple he has, it doesn't matter to Chloe. She's done with him. Right. And so like I became the example of what kind of man to look for. And I've become the example for Andrew on what kind of man to become. And so it's in every category: faith, family, fitness, and finance. And when men start realizing we have a very, very important responsibility to lead by example and not by words, the rest will fall into place.
Yeah. Well, like changing perspectives for a second, let's say that you're not who you are today. Like you're, not as disciplined financially, fitness wise, like you're just a little bit more sloppy. You're not the B that you are today, but you're the 1.0 version, right?
Yeah.
But Andrew is old enough where he can voice his opinions and tell you what he's seeing. Let's say there's a son who wants to talk to his dad. Let's say the son at the gym, he doesn't want to look the way his dad looks, but he kind of just followed in his footsteps, and the food that his dad eats is obviously in the same house. So he kind of, you know what I'm saying? But he doesn't want to be that way. How does he kind of, you know, tell his dad to tighten up, dude? Like without, you know, I mean, I guess you can't really guarantee you're not going to start a fight or piss him off or feel like make him feel disrespect, whatever. But kind of how would you approach that situation?
The approach is actually simple, but the problem is everyone's looking for the guarantee. Like, if there was a way that I could say this and be guaranteed I'm not going to offend my dad or my mom or hurt their feelings or get them angry, then I'll say it. That doesn't exist. I may have told you the story. I won't mention his name, but there's a good friend who I have. For a period of time, he worked with us here at HQ. Grown-ass man, my age, couple kids. His wife, every time she would come to a Christmas party, he was also in one of my masterminds, so she would come to the mastermind dinners. Inevitably, she would just have a few too many cocktails or bottles of wine, and then would just start like, bah, get it mouthy and loud and obnoxious. And let's call him David, even though that's not his name, let's call him David. David would always be embarrassed and be like, on his way out, Bedros, thank you for a great dinner. It was awesome. Man, I'm really sorry about my wife. She's never like this, you know, but I would always see like, well, actually she is. Like, dinner party at my house, Christmas party, masterminds 3 times a year. I actually see a pattern. So one day I'm like, hey, bro, do you want to go work out with me? Sure. So we go to the gym to work out. As we're working out, I'm like, hey, David, as we leave the gym here, there's a conversation I want to tee up, and it's a conversation that you might tell me to shut my fucking mouth and that I have no place to talk about this thing. And I'm going to tee it up, and if you feel I need to shut my mouth and I have no place to talk about it, you just give me the word. My mouth is shut. Yeah. And we'll keep working together, and you can be in the mastermind and you can keep working with me. But I feel called. See, when you feel called to do something, you can't worry or think about the repercussion.
Right.
I said, but I feel called to bring this up to you. He goes, fine. So we're walking out into the parking lot after a good workout. And I figured a workout is a really good way. Like 2 dudes bringing the heat.
Get him in a good mood.
Yeah, get him in a good mood. You got all the good chemicals coursing through his body. I'm like, hey, man, I think your wife might have an issue with alcohol, and these 4 events over the last 3 months kind of prove it. And I think you're in denial about it, and I love you to pieces, and I love her to pieces, but I know she's embarrassing you because when you come up to me, you apologize, and you're like, this has never happened, but I could think of 4 times in the last 3 months. And so listen, if you want me to shut the fuck up, just tell me the word and I'll shut the fuck up. And he starts laughing. He goes, dude, you're right. I have been avoiding it. I have been pretending like it doesn't exist, but it's a conversation I need to have with her. How would you tee that conversation up, B? I go, well, you can't. There's no 100% way of you teeing it up,
guaranteeing where it's going to be success rate.
Yeah. But you're going to have to do it. And guess what? Today she's like 4 years sober.
That's awesome, man.
And to start off with that conversation, interestingly enough, I've brought things like that up to so many people. And I always go with like, hey, I love you, but I feel called to say something to you. And it might make you want to tell me to shut the fuck up and that I have no place to talk about this. And if that's how you feel, please tell me, and I'll shut my mouth and we keep going about our relationship.
Right.
I brought that done 10 to 12 times with people that I care about and love. I've yet to have any of them tell me to shut the fuck up. How dare you?
Right.
They've all been like, bro, I really thank you. I appreciate it.
They knew it. They needed that too. Yeah.
I needed it when someone had enough courage to tell me, right? It's just, how much do you love me? If you love me, you'll shit on me, and I'll know you're shitting on me out of love.
Right.
How I respond or react to it, it may be over the top or it may be with gratitude. Well, even if it's over the top, I'm like, how dare you? I thought we were homies. You can't, da-da-da. I can't believe you think I'm a drunk or an alcoholic or a gambling, da-da. But now you've opened that can of worms. It's going to eat away at me.
Yeah.
4 or 5 months from now, I may very well stop doing the thing that you wanted me to stop.
Right.
But you have to be brave enough and courageous enough to love your friends enough to do that.
Right.
And that's how that young man would bring that up. Dad, I love you, but I look like the fucking younger replica of you. And my goal is to lose 100 pounds. And I'd love for you to go on this journey with me because I'm worried that you won't be around the next decade. Now, Dad might be like, how dare you? Or he might be like, son, holy fuck, I love you. Thank you. Let's do this.
I think that last line, and like when you start talking about like death and stuff, like, hey man, I want you to be here. Not like
it's a real thing.
You're gonna die in 10 years if you don't get your stuff together. But it's like, no, I need you to be here with me. Like, it's different. You know what I mean? How you deliver the message is like different.
Yeah, and part of it is that, right? The strategy of delivering the message. It's if you can shit on someone with love, they're gonna take it. But if you're like, I'm lean and jacked, and how dare you, man? We hang out and you're not lean and jacked.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, gee, sorry, I'm not as sexy as you, so I can't hang.
Right,
yeah, I mean,
right.
but if it's out of a place of love, then it's fine to crap on people, man.
Yeah, man, I hear you. Dude, that really was the brunt of kind of what I want to talk about. But before I close it, I want to ask you if there's anything on your heart that you want to kind of deliver as far as to these dads. Let's just say modern day dads in general. If you don't have a message, no worries, we'll close it out.
Yeah.
But I know you always have, you do have something you want to share with people, and so it might go off topic, but I'm cool with that.
Yeah. Actually, there was one thing, I guess kind of off topic, but not really. You know how these days, and Andrew, I love you. I'm just telling you this right now. And I don't even know if you're going to take time off from work. And if you are, God bless you for it. But you know how like dads will take that paternal time off? And I don't even know if you did, bro. And I didn't even notice. Now, if you do it, I won't. It doesn't bother me.
Right.
That doesn't need to be happening. Like when mom is like pregnant and then has the baby and takes like 6 weeks to get her shit together and what's it called when they get depressed? Postpartum, right? And it's like, oh, now they have one.
Wild.
Yeah, there's something for dads now, right? Well, by law, the dad can take 6 weeks off or 12 weeks off. Like, you don't fucking need that. You're going to stay home, do stupid shit, get fat, break your routines, get depressed, be pissed off by a baby who's crying. And the reason is, you didn't deliver that baby. You don't have the same oxytocin that is released.
Same,
yeah. Mom, literally, like, will milk through her shirt, her blouse when a baby cries.
Yep.
I remember wanting to pick up my child and smash it against the wall when it would cry. Like, feed this child, woman. I don't know what to do with it.
Right.
Now, when Andrew or Chloe weren't crying, that felt good. Let me cuddle with them. Usually at night or early morning when they're half asleep when I pick them up. I don't know what the fuck to do with them. So if I was like for 6 weeks or 8 weeks stuck at home with the baby, bonding time, they don't fucking know. Shut the fuck up. There's no reason for it. Now, do it, whatever, you're a modern day dude, fine, good for you. But I'm telling you, there is no functional reason. It's going to take you out of your routine. It's going to make you irritated because you don't have the same oxytocins that mom releases when a baby cries. You don't have the same level of patience. You have testosterone, therefore it's going to fucking anger you.
Yep.
You're going to feel like you're missing out on your routine, and men need routine and purpose beyond a child. And so that's that. So that's thing number one. Thing number two, men need to start having these uncomfortable conversations with the people they love without the guarantee of, that it's going to turn out
Things
okay.
going well.
Things going well. With the potential that Lheyton might want to punch me in the mouth, but I love Lheyton enough to say something. You know what I mean? Like, what did I do? I said, Andrew, I love you, but, right? Yeah. And if he's like, you know what? I've been worried about the fact, like, what if I break my routine? What if this and what if that? And part of it might be like, my wife wants me there and therefore I feel like I need to be there. But what if you had the conversation with your wife and, you know what I mean? But maybe this, Andrew was feeling a certain way about it, but now he's like, oh, you know what? This shows me that maybe I don't have to break my routine. Maybe I could still be there for my wife, but still keep doing what I'm doing. All this to say that I don't know if I'm going to hurt his feelings, but I love him enough to bring it up. And how it turns out, as long as he knows that I care for him, whether he does it or not, I'm not going to think less of him. I'm just going to tell you, like, hey, man, like, you probably don't need to be there. Your kids aren't going to be like, hey, I remember you weren't there the first 6 weeks. Every day.
I know, I remember.
Every day. You know what I mean? I got it in my journal.
Yo.
Lheyton was absent.
Dude, I'll tell you this, man. I was gone for 2 weeks, and I was just like, I was running back to work. I was like, please, I just need to get, like, you love your family. It's not that you don't want to be with them. It's just like, we have, like you said, we don't have the same chemistry. It's not the same at all. Like, I'm like, you're running out of diapers. I'll go to Target. I'll go, let me get out. Like, you're just going to get away.
I'll run a red light and go to Target and get the fucking diapers. But then you put it on because I don't know the front from the back. I don't. That's just how it is. So those are the two things I just wanted to share. Thanks for giving me that the space to do that.
No, of course, man. It was a good convo. I'm glad we threw some sauce on it at the end, man. I think that's going to be some good information for everybody out there.
Yeah.
And yeah, man. So anyways, guys, we appreciate you guys for tuning in for another episode. If you haven't subscribed, you're watching this. If you enjoyed anything that we talked about today, please do us a favor, like this, subscribe. And yeah, man, we'll see you guys in the next episode. Peace.